Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. I'll get straight to it this time without the whole introduction. I want to thank Mr. Fantastic for having me on that panel. I do appreciate that. Game changer, Edward, it was good to see y'all again. I don't care what the Daggle says about y'all. I also want to say, want to give a shout out to Pharaoh that was on one of my live streams a while back. Pharaoh, it was good to have you there. At some point, you and I need to chop it up with you to learn more of the history and write it down of the manosphere. I really do, because you know more and you explained it in a very non-hostile and easy to understand way. I appreciate that. Which you did know, and I need to hear more, because the truth be told, I don't get to watch every video that comes out, and certainly don't get to finish them because they're long. I'm watching Dennis Sperling's video right now. That being said, listen, on Mr. Fantastic's panel today, I appreciate you having me on. I'm not going to say what I'm about to say in addressing the Daggle directly. And in this case, the Daggle was let go of my ego. But I'm not going to address her directly. I already did that on there. But one thing I want to clear up is that when I left being ticked off, I'm aware that I got impatient with him and just said, man, F this dude. Looking back, I feel guilty about one thing. He didn't curse me, and I cursed him. So, Brother Truth, I don't know where to find you to tell you this. I am sorry about using foul language. I'm not sorry for my opinion, and I'm sure you're not sorry for yours. I'm sorry for swearing. I realized that you didn't swear when I listened to the playback, because I didn't hear very clearly at the time. I could hear most of what you said, but somewhere I thought I heard a swear word, and when I listened to the playback, I realized you did not curse me. I don't apologize for my opinion for this reason. Even if you're not a black Republican, you sounded like a conservative when you interrupted, what's this slavery stuff, when I was talking about history. We don't get to use political opinion to debate history. I don't get to do it, neither do you. What's this slavery stuff? I always talk about this victim. No, man, I'm just saying take accountability, bruh. That's exactly what she said. She told black men to take accountability for things beyond our control. And I don't get on these things, and I'm not in this sphere, in this space, to beat up on black women and then exonerate the white man and let them off the hook. The mayonnaise mafia is to blame. It ain't all of them, I know. A lot of the ones today are also victims of this, but their system and their society are the damn problem. Palestinians don't sit up and debate about which Israelites are good or which Israeli citizens are good and which ones aren't. And they know that Israelis come in different individual personalities. They're aware of that. But what they do not do, what they don't do is sit up and debate. They don't sit up here and start beating up on Palestinian women and then turn, some Palestinian women only want to marry Gulf Arabs because they got the money, get them out of Palestine. What they don't do is beat up on these women and then turn around and exonerate the Israelis and say, well, look what we doing wrong. Let's take some accountability. Shuck that fit. Sir, we black men have already taken accountability. More than what we've earned, we've taken. I had to tell the same thing to Rebecca Lynn Pope earlier in my last upload. We've already took all of the accountability that we've earned and the blame that we've earned and then more, and we've gotten credit far less than what we're due. That's why I was really ticked off when you started with that conservative rhetoric. If you were not a conservative, then I need to know how I missed that. Because that rhetoric is exactly not just black Republican, but conservative. It's all of that. It's exactly white conservative talking points. And the black folks have no business taking them on, especially for the approval of white folks. There were no white folks there listening, sir. What's wrong with holding the mayonnaise mafia accountable for their part in it? And what's wrong with looking at the ones today and saying to them, look, everything you enjoy is because of the legacy of it. Trauma's real. It continues on. The effects don't just go away because you decide you're not going to look at the past anymore. I know some ignorant niggas left-wing liberals, you would call them. I know some of them that say, I'm not going to dwell in the past, Aki. We can't talk about that. And you know what winds up happening? They wind up making the same mistake because they won't at least look to the past for a lesson. I try to take the balanced road. We can't live in the past. We still must learn from it. I didn't get a chance to explain that because you interrupted me with the bull. And conservative BS at that. That's why I was angry. I was right for that. I was only wrong for swearing at you when you didn't swear at me first. And in all honesty, I thought somewhere that I heard a swear word, and I listened to the playback for some odd reason to see if I heard right. And that's honestly because I got so angry, my ears started ringing. So I wondered if I had heard correctly, and I went back and listened to the playback. Then I was even angrier because I was like, dang, he didn't swear at me. I think somebody else might have said a swear word and it wasn't you. And for that, I am sorry. I'm not capable of feeling embarrassment, but I am capable of feeling guilt. Now, to the general audience, I want to say this, brothers. You're going to wind up talking. I mean, sometimes you wind up in cases like this. I'm not going to sit up and discuss with someone like Lego My Ego if I can't mute her, because I'm willing to listen to her when she talks. But when I talk, I'm not willing to let her interrupt me, just like I wasn't willing to let Brother Truth interrupt me. However, I don't address them on my channel usually. I addressed Rebecca Lynn Pope on my channel because I don't see her as a Daggle, but there was something I missed the first time I looked at a video. Maybe I'll touch upon that later, maybe not. Let me say this, though. First off, Lego My Ego said something about every other man is different from the black man, and that is true, but in no way are they better. When you hear people say this, you let them know that the non-black men who get visas to go to the United States and Canada are cherry-picked by U.S. embassies and consulates and Canadian embassies and consulates abroad. They're more picky even in the UK and European consulates that are in India and Pakistan and these other non-black, non-white nations. The North American embassies outside of Mexico's are actually quite, if you want to know the truth, they're actually quite picky about who gets the visa to go and live in North America, excluding Mexico. Now that we have that, now that that's been said, don't let any Daggle tell you that you're different from other men in an implication that you're somehow worse. You're not. Next, point that she made was that no other men talk about their women this way. Well, the truth be told, white men do talk about their women this way. They're the only ones that do. White Western men talk about their women this way. The Scandinavian men are beginning to. It's making its way into other nations, though. In Jakarta, Indonesian men are beginning to talk about Indonesian women badly. Yeah, they're beginning to. Because they're tired of the hypergamy at the expense of their religion. And most Indonesians that are Malay are, in fact, Muslim, and most of the Chinese are not. So when a Muslim woman gets with a non-Muslim man of any ethnicity, they take offense to that. So this is changing, but for a while now, white Western men have been talking about their women the exact same way. I mean, hell, ain't no black man flipped out like Elliot Rodger yet, or like Alec Manassian yet. Ain't no black man done that. Black men curse them out, usually because of the mixed messages and the confusion and the serious, nasty tongues that sisters have, like yours truly, Lego My Ego. She couldn't fuck the shuck up even to listen to facts. Fantastic had to mute her for the time so that I could sit up and tell her about what's really going on abroad and outside the U.S. No, they talk about their women just as bad, even worse. And on occasion, they go violent. Black men ain't done that yet. I mean, 2 men have told me that they've assaulted black women, but I don't even know if I don't think they really did it. But as far as like shooting and trying to run them over and stuff like that, no, ain't no black man going to red pill rage like that. So when these Daggles come with that talking point, dismiss them. The next thing I want you brothers to understand is that when you go abroad, you are sought after. Every woman does not want you. That's not the case. But you will find that when you go to other places, it changes with region and with individuals. It does. Where I live, it changes from individual to individual. Women are not asked generally why they married a black man. Men are asked why they married a black woman if she's the first wife. Some of them have stared at me like, oh, wow. And one driver told us at one point, you ain't going to see a color combination like yours. I told him, I'm just light skinned. I'm not white, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. And he was like, oh, well, that's different. And this is, of course, not in a big city. I don't get to live in big cities because it's too easy and the people are too smart there, and I guess they don't need many teachers there. But with the better ones where I am, now even the women, they like some brothers. There's not much they can do about it, but it's known they like brothers. Even the black locals, the black citizens, yeah, they like them. It's not, and I'm going to tell you, black women here are not being pursued by non-black men. Except on occasion, one of them might get followed because he's trying to fornicate but not marry her. Now that can happen. There's no violence, there's no racial hatred here, but this will happen at times. There's this stereotype that these men have here that black women are hornier than other women. I've told them that's not necessarily the case. Then again, I've never messed with any of your women and wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. But it's not logical for that to be the case unless you all are missing something in your diet, because you all come from us. If we had it, you are our descendants, you would have inherited it. Unless something changed in the diet. I don't let them say things like this, even if they don't mean any harm. But I do want you all to understand, gentlemen, that when we go abroad, you have options. Not everywhere, not with everyone. It's not like you're top of the line right off the bat because you're black, but you actually are not any less sought after than white guys, to be honest with you. That's the first thing. Secondly, sisters don't have these same options. So she's not really telling the truth about that. Sisters don't have the options that black men have when we go abroad. A lot of that is racial, to be honest with you. But there's also an element of that is cultural. The Western woman in general, white or black, is generally shunned by the men from outside the West because they know about the attitude and they're not going to deal with it. They're just not. They will tell you, you're going to fit the guck out of my face with that sure bit. And that's it. And that leads me to my next point. When you get out of the West, people are patriarchal and they're not always rich. That ain't going to always be the case. That poor Indonesian is just as patriarchal as a wealthy Bruneian. He's not going to follow his wife's orders and things like that, even if she makes more money. He may respect her money, but these men know if you follow her, she's leaving you. She's going to replace you with a man that is leading. That's what's going to happen. They know this. So I'm just going to let y'all know right off the bat, gentlemen, that I could deconstruct every single point she raised, every single time. And so if you care to engage with the Daggle in person or online, keep these points in mind. But also understand, I'm not here to go to either extreme. I'm not here to use slavery so that we live in the past and never move forward. I'm also not here to not learn from the past so that we can go forward without repeating it. You don't learn the past, you will repeat it. And you won't repeat the successes, you will repeat the failures. I'm not here for either one of those two extremes. So when I do talk about history, it's so that we can learn a good lesson from it. Don't come to me talking about stop sounding like a victim. Screw you. That's exactly what a white supremacist enemy would want you to say. And it's exactly what they would want you to do. Jump on sisters and exonerate the mayonnaise mafia. You don't get no more pro-white than that. That's exactly what they would want. And that's part of why I refuse to do it. I'll get on sisters in a heartbeat. Let a white guy jump in there and start talking down to sisters and black women. And I'm going to roast them. And I'm going to do it every time. And I'm going to tell them, you need to go back to your people and fix your little mayonnaise maidens. You You don't get to come here and start talking down on sisters. Now, you could admit they've made a mistake. You could even say objectively, well, this is how they're treating me, and they're treating me better than they're treating black men. But just going in and talking down on them like we do, this is our business. See your country behind out. Jethro. Because the reason would be that, simply put, if we get on sisters, we're not doing it because we hate them. When they get on anybody black, they're doing it because they feel superior. And they don't feel superior because of what they've done. They feel superior because of who they are and what they're not. That's the end of it. I'm not here for that. Even though I'm no longer pro-black as a whole, I am pro-black male. That does not mean that I'm with that white shit either. So not just you, Brother Truth, but don't none of y'all come to me with that stuff, because I already know not to simply dwell in a victim mentality. But that does not mean that I'm not allowed to learn the lessons of a former victim. It doesn't mean that all of us are not forced and required to learn the lessons of former victims so that we're not so easy to victimize again. And that's part of why I've been saying we need to leave the West. Fuck America and fuck everywhere else that you say is the greatest country in the world. To hell with all them little mayonnaise jurisdictions. They've never been anything without us. And it is a bigger threat to the economic and financial hegemony of these white nations for us in the West to go back to the motherland or to go to the tropics in general than it is for us to go to their countries. It's a bigger threat, because if we're in tropical nations where they've had their little banana republic proxies for generations so they could extract resources cheaply, one thing that is going to be the case is that eventually people are not going to sit up and just say, it's fine, it's okay, that our leaders are doing this to us while we starve so that Europeans can have a higher standard of living. They're not going to do that. You know why? Frankly, because we're technically savvy. So we have the means to bring in cryptocurrencies, and the technology is already there, but there are many of us brothers that are learning more about it. We would have ways of coming up with currencies that, frankly, because Gaddafi was going to do it, but we would come up with ways. We would undermine, and it's already happening. The Western Negroes are the ones that would sit up and say, well, okay, you know what? Listen, I got the perfect plan. We're going to get that Chinese and that Indian store owner at each other's throats. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get them at each other's throats. And we're going to have them out of business. Who's their supplier? And that's what we're going to do. We would start thinking of ways like that. Because we've actually been close to white folks, so we know their tricks, and we would use them on the Indian and the Chinese and maybe even some of the Europeans. Because when she was sitting up saying, well, the white man and the Asian, they run Africa, you tell me about that, she still did not want to admit that they had the capital to go in there and start off ahead of the game. But not only that, nobody's ever thought about pitting them against each other the way we have. And China and India, politically speaking, are at odds with each other. So it's easy to get their citizens fighting with each other. And truth be told, it really ain't every Indian that's part of the problem. In the US, Canada, pretty much every last one of them is. They come from that class that gets the visas more easily anyway. Now, they're not all successful in the States or in Canada, but they come from those successful classes that could get the visas at the consulate or the embassy back home. But truth be told, you want to meet some Indians that are, just as trifling as Negroes, you got to leave and go to other countries like where I live. You can also meet some that ain't trifling and they're pro-black. That exists too. Many of you would have never expected to ever meet a pro-black Indian. Yeah, they exist. And as a matter of fact, some of them are in Riyadh, some of them are in Oman. I visited there years ago. There are some of them that are like that. So anyway, you get the idea. You understand? I think I've said enough. I appreciate you all listening. I hope that one day all I've said will be irrelevant and unnecessary. And until then, I hope that it helps. Black heart, black mind, black out, assalamu alaikum, black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day.